Hey Zwifters, I'm Simon Schofield and this is the Zwiftcast. Coming up on this episode. The British TV star overwhelmed by reaction to her charity group ride.
It was the Zwift Community at its absolute best.
The Canadian living in Norway leading paracyclists from across the globe.
Everyone can kind of look around the group and see, oh, I'm with people like me. I'm with my crew here. These are my people.
And the South African whose joyous videos about cycling in lockdown are making the whole world smile.
It's hard for me to get onto my bike every day. But when I get off, I feel the weight is off my shoulders. I feel better about myself and I'm ready to go again.
Well, as you might gather, we are very international this episode, which is a special celebrating the Zwift community. So a week off for Shane and Nathan. They'll be back next week and we'll have all the usual Zwifty chat, and there should be plenty of that as we do a game update, and the firm plans for the Tour for All are slowly emerging. But I wanted to recognise the Zwift community in a special episode. So I have 3 features which I really hope show how important, how inspirational, and in fact how joyful the community is right now at this very difficult time. Let's start with Louise Minchin. Her ride raised £25,000, and that's still increasing, for the health service in the UK. But more importantly, it brought people together in an amazing way. Here's the story. Well, welcome to the Zwiftcast to Louise Minchin. Now, Louise, I've got listeners all over the world, but you're like a big noise in the UK. So we better just start by explaining why you're such a big noise. You're on the telly a lot, aren't you?
I like you said big noise, yes. Well, that's probably a good way of describing me. Yeah, I'm on the telly. I present BBC Breakfast, which is actually factually the most watched morning programme in the UK. I've been doing it 8 years now. And lots of people watch. I feel like part of a huge, enormous BBC Breakfast family. I love my job. Yes, quite a few people watch it, about 6.5 million, I think.
Wow. Well, okay. So that's definitely big noise credentials established. Now, you've now got a second family. You've got a Zwift family, and you led a big ride. Now, I wasn't on this, Louise, but I was on at the same time, and I saw lots of the chat. And goodness me, it was lively.
Here in the UK, like lots of other places in the world, we're in a sort of lockdown. And so I've worked for the BBC for very many years, and they were doing a big a fundraising event on Thursday, which was called The Big Night In. And I thought, well, what can I do that is going to contribute to that? And I have spent many hours on Zwift. If you go on my Zwift profile, you'll see I've spent a lot of hours on that bike, doing a lot of miles. And I thought, well, why don't I do the Big Bike In? And see whether I can get people to join and maybe raise a bit of money. So I decided that, I wanted it to be a challenge. And so I chose, quite ridiculously, really, in hindsight now, because it was pretty painful. I chose 100 miles because I thought that was a good, big challenge. You're no Jenny come lately to Zwift. I can't even remember how long I've been on Zwift. It must be probably about 5 years or so. And it was back in those days when I think there was only Watopia at the time. I think on a ride, maximum people on a ride would be about 40. And I'm just looking at the stats here on my ride. There were 2,700 sign-ups. Actually, 1,623 people joined the ride. And you know what it's like these days? You get on there and you look and there's like 27,000 people around the world. And it's incredible. And I've loved it. It's brought so much just real hardcore training, but I really enjoy it, actually.
Yeah, but you're a proper triathlete, aren't you? I mean, you've raced for GB.
Yeah, I raced. So I took up sport again. I left sport when I was 15. I was a good swimmer, but then didn't like how muscly I looked. My shoulders looked too muscly. So much to my kind of real sadness now, actually, I kind of left competitive sport when I was about 15. 30 years later, took up sport because I did a cycling challenge in the velodrome for BBC Breakfast. I think 2014 probably did my first triathlon. And then used to go to, I now realise we're called Tri Babes, us little kind of.
I'm glad you said that and I didn't.
I'm not calling, believe me, I'm not calling myself that, but I've been talking to lots of open water swimmers and they laugh at me because I turn up all kind of like in my wetsuit and they think I'm a bit of a wimp because I have to wear a wetsuit. Anyway, that's sort of a side point. So then I used to go to triathlons and I'd see people in these GB tri-suits and I was like, how do they get those? And found out that, you go to qualifying race, get a qualifying time, and then you can represent your country. So I sort of took that up as a bit of challenge in 2015 and went to Chicago to the World Championships. It was an incredible experience. Absolutely loved it.
Gosh, so yeah, you're no slouch on a bike for sure. Back to the ride, Louise. I mean, the thing that I noticed, and I was, like I say, I was kind of part of it, but not part of it, was there was so much like really friendly chat.
Oh, it was emotional. Oh, I mean, I would get quite emotional talking about it. So, I did this, as I say, I expected only 50 people to join in. And I asked a few people that I happened to have met along the way, like Chris Hoy, for example, and Geraint Thomas and Dame Sarah Story and Lucy Charles. I just sent them cheeky messages going, do you want to come on this ride with me? They turned up. So that was awesome. The fact that we had some incredibly, brilliant riders with us, but it wasn't that. It was the Zwift community at its absolute best. We went on that ride. There were people, and I've got a picture of my little mini peloton. There were some people who started with me and stayed with me for the full 100 miles. They did not leave my side for a minute. It was amazing. And then there were also messages, and there was a couple of times when I mucked up because I was multitasking and typing while Zwifting and managed to sort of like drop myself from my own peloton twice. I was like, help guys, help. And they came back for me. And then there was a good friend of mine who's another GB athlete who was with me, and she got dropped and I said, oh, can anybody go and help? And then people I didn't know went back, helped her back on. It was just so, I cannot begin to describe the sort of feeling of joint endeavour. I mean, the chat was so lovely. And then people would say, oh, sorry, Louise, I've got to leave. And there were various points that people left, at 1 hour or, I don't know, 50K or whatever. And then we did, in the moment in the UK, we do this thing at 8:00 on a Thursday night where we stop and we all go outside and do clap for all the people who are looking after us in the NHS, etc. Honestly, so I told everybody what we were doing. And at 5 to 8, there we all are on Zwift. And all these cycling avatars came to a stop on the hill. Oh my gosh, it made me cry. And I told them what we were going to do. So we had 10-minute break. And then, and then I gave them warning, 2 minute, 1 minute, 10, 9, 8. And then we set off again. And it was so special. And then there were people on that little peloton who, I mean, I don't know these people, but they were just, keeping us together and encouraging people. And then with the last K to go, they were like, oh, let Louise go through on her own. Honestly, it was really something. I've never done either 100K or 100 miles on Zwift. And so many of us, managed to do it because we were in it together. So it was really lovely.
There aren't many benefits to lockdown, but this really is one of them, isn't it?
I just found, I'm really quite overwhelmed by the atmosphere on that ride and the fact that we all, we're all at home and we might feel like that we're alone, but actually, there's a whole, and in various different ways, aren't there? Communities out there who want, we want to be together. That's human nature, isn't it? And actually that we can do it in different ways is inspiring. And, I love racing. I really love racing. But to be able to go and do that in my own sitting room, and to come out with the feeling that I do from races, which is, I'm still running on adrenaline and that kind of joint endeavor, it is an incredible thing to do. And actually, I think it's a real lesson to us that we can think of different ways of doing the things that we love.
Absolutely right. And that's a very positive note to end on. It's been lovely talking to you. Congratulations on the century.
Yeah, I got my 2 new badges. I'm really excited.
Lovely. Really nice. And well done on the ride, and well done to everyone who took part. Thanks very much indeed, Louise.
Simon, thank you so much.
Ride on!
As Louise said, that was lots of people coming together in a joint endeavour. And there was another fine example of that in a ride which will now become a weekly fixture, in which para-athletes were able to ride together. Zwift is a particularly useful tool for paracyclists, and there's a thriving para community. Jason Dyck decided it needed a focus. Welcome to the Zwiftcast to Jason Dyck, speaking to me from, I think, Norway, Jason.
That's correct. I'm in Oslo right now.
And you had the honour of leading what we think is the first ever group ride for paracyclists a few days ago. How did that go?
I think it might have been the first, but it may not. Somebody could disagree with me. But the ride itself went really well. We had, by my calculation, around 130 para athletes from around the world joining us. And so this includes athletes who ride hand cycles, athletes who ride tricycles, blind athletes who run tandems, and athletes who ride a regular bicycle but maybe have modifications like an amputee.
Wow, what a fantastic idea. And was it, when you say around the world, I mean, I guess it was reflective of what we're seeing on Zwift at the moment, which every time you go on, there are just flags from everywhere. It's
true, exactly. We were seeing people from America, all over Europe, lots from South Africa. Team GB showed up and represented well. Some of their top national team members came to the ride. So that was really exciting. I kind of put the invite out and shared it around with a couple people I know in the paracycling community. And I was really thrilled with how many people were able to join. And it was a great success.
Fantastic. And was it on a rubber band basis? So was it a no-drop ride or?
It was, yeah. So I think I had to kind of make a special request to Zwift because it was a group ride. I understand most group rides don't have that rubber band effect. So Zwift was able to accommodate us and give us kind of that effect because, as you can imagine, in paracycling, you have a huge discrepancy in power output. Someone who's riding a hand cycle, they'll have an FTP of around 50 to 70 watts. And then you'll have top athletes like visually impaired athletes or like a baloney amputee. They'll be putting out 400 watts as their FTP for the top athletes. So you do need some sort of banding effect for the social aspect of the ride to work.
And I don't want to sound patronizing. I know paracyclists and para-athletes hate that, and quite rightly too. But there must have been a particularly special sense of community about being able to ride together.
Yeah, that was really encouraging to see. The group messaging, the chat was quite lively, and a lot of people were, connecting with friends and competitors from around the world that they would normally see at races this time of year, but of course not this year. Even though, of course, everyone's on the same looking avatar, everyone knows, most people have it in their name, what, they're riding a hand cycle or they're riding a tricycle or, and so everyone can kind of look around the group and see, oh, I'm with people like me. I'm with my crew here. These are my people. And so it seemed to have quite a strong communal sense on the ride, and there's really strong feedback. So we will be running the ride every week now because people really wanted it to keep going and liked that sense of connection that they got from it.
That's really, really excellent. I guess the other thing that might be interesting about it is that's probably the biggest assembly of adaptive tech to get Zwift working for paracyclists that you'll find in one place.
I hadn't thought about it like that, but I think you're definitely right. There are some very, very creative setups for people to rig up hand cycles or all sorts of modified bikes on Zwift. So there's a lot of creative rigs for that ride.
Yeah, I bet there was. What's your particular setup?
So I'm a coach. I don't have a disability. I really geeked out on it for a while, and I really wanted to see about how to rig up hand cycling on Zwift. And so I have a couple of hand cycles in my office, and I've got a bunch of trainers. I've got some basic trainers, got some smart trainers. I've got a bit of the mad scientist kind of setup where I'm rigging up different bikes and different configurations to see kind of which one gives the most realistic setting and the most also most enjoyable ride experience, I guess, where, you're able to ride with everyone else.
Wow. And how did you become involved in paracycling? Is that basically as a coach?
Yeah, so I've been a coach now for about 7 years. So I'm originally from Canada, and I was coaching in Canada, and it just slowly I volunteered at a local paracycling club, kind of showed up on a Tuesday evening, and that was my first exposure to this sport, and I kind of really liked it, and I kind of got more involved, and I slowly got roped in, and I met other coaches who've become mentors to me. And then through some kind of random coincidences, and I ended up landing my dream job in Norway, where I'm leading the paracycling program here. So now my full-time work is just para coaching. So I'm meeting athletes, coaching athletes, and setting up the program so that we can bring athletes to races and build up that.
Yeah, and now you've transferred those skills and expertise and passion to Zwift.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a really positive response. I've been getting messages coming in from all sorts of places. People have tracking me down saying, "Hey, that was great. Let's do it again." So I'm organizing this through my national federation, the Norwegian Cycling Federation, and a couple other national federations are starting to jump into the Zwift Para Cycling game now with some other events. And it's really exciting to see that something stuck and people want it to keep going. So,
well, it was an unmet need, I think, Jason, and I think probably you've just been a bit of a catalyst.
I guess I just got lucky, but it's great. I know my athletes that I coach directly benefited from it because they got to do this ride. And even athletes in Norway, we have athletes that live 10 hours apart from each other, so they never meet here. So even Zwift is a great tool for within the country, but for them to then ride with other athletes and to message him and to start to connect with other athletes from around the world was I think very eye-opening to them, especially for my younger athletes and my newer athletes who hadn't really been exposed to the wide world of paracycling. They've only been just sticking around Norway locally. So it was a great opportunity for the whole program and of course for everyone else. That was what's so great is everyone seems to be really benefiting from being able to have this social connection and ride with other people, and maybe we'll do some racing at some point.
Well, this lockdown is a tough time, but it's absolutely fantastic to see some benefit coming out of it. And you're doing great work there, Jason. Well done. And a real pleasure to talk to you today. The very best of luck with it. And this is going to continue for the time being, at least on a Wednesday.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we've got it set up for Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central European time. And that will be continuing for the foreseeable future. And so everyone's welcome to join if you want to support paracycling, and most importantly, share it with all your paracycling friends.
Excellent. Great work, mate. Really nice to talk to you. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for the call, Simon.
Really good to see Zwift making some adjustments to allow that ride to happen. And as Jason said, that ride is open to anybody, not just paracyclists. So if you want to support the paracycling community, do join it. 7 p.m. Wednesday, Central European time.
Ride on!
Now, a guy called Netto Smith is gaining quite the following in Zwift Facebook groups, and not surprisingly, his lockdown videos are a joy. So I thought it best to find out a little more about Netto. Welcome to the Zwiftcast to Netto Smith. Hi, Netto.
Hi, Simon. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm always a lot better when I see one of your videos on Facebook and to see you laughing and singing and dancing on the bike, man. You've become a bit of a star.
Yeah, Simon, listen, we live in a very fast-paced world. There's a lot of things against us. So get on your bike and ride it because it's there. You bought it, so ride it and have fun and play music at the end, in the background. Maybe you inspire somebody or you inspire yourself, or it's a way of dealing with issues. It's hard for me to get onto my bike every day. But when I get off, I feel the weight is off my shoulders. I feel better about myself and I'm ready to go again.
The joy of cycling, that is a thing. But I think the thing that everybody loves about you is that joy is like written all over your face. I've never seen anyone look happier on a bike.
It's a joy I feel when I'm on my bike. I'm free. The wind is going through you. You're just riding, You have no care for anything, besides being safe on the road. But you're just in another realm. Your heart is open, your pores are open, you're taking oxygens, your lungs are wide open. I don't know which other sport will make me feel that way.
You're talking our language here. Now, listen, Netto, you're not, how can I put this without being really, really rude? You're not the same shape as many cyclists.
No, I'm not. I'm very big.
You're a big guy, but you also look like a pretty powerful guy. So
let me put it this way. So my weight fluctuates between 98 and 95. Uphill, I'm very strong. I'm very strong uphill. Downhill, I use gravity. So I'm just working on the flat. So hence I don't have an issue with my body because my legs, we call them the Bugatti Veyrons because they can carry me. Uphill, no problem. Downhill, no problem. It's the flats that's killing. So right now I'm working on the flats, and trust me, but I'm not doing this for weight loss. I'm doing this to keep it healthy, to get my blood circulating, and to sweat and get the toxins out of my body.
I mean, the great thing about Zwift now in lockdown is just you see flags from all over the world. You truly feel like it's a global community. Is it big in South Africa?
Zwift is big, but not as big as in other countries. I mean, when my phone goes off, since I started Zwifting and having all these people following me, my phone goes off literally the whole night. I have a few South African friends. One of my best buddies, the guy that introduced me back to cycling, his name is Josiah. He called me the other day and said, "Can we Zwift together?" And we did a nice ride together, I think last week, and it was quite nice to actually have it with a lot of with the South African riding. It's very nice. I would like all South Africans to join into Zwift, but I don't think a lot of them also know about it. Only the cyclists do know about Zwift, but it's also the cost that goes with it.
There can be no greater ambassador for cycling and Zwifting than you, Netto. It's always, whenever you pop up in my feed, that means it's going to be a better day for me. I really love to see the things you're doing. Keep doing it.
Thank you, Simon. You'll see more videos. I'll try to do more videos and encourage more people. And anybody that wants to get in touch with me, my Facebook is always there. I'm 24/7 online. It's not, what I can tell you guys, it's not easy. Let's not make a lie about it. It's not easy. But the nice part is getting off your bike where you say, you know what, I've done 5 kilometers for today. Big ups to yourself. That's what you need to concentrate on. What have I done for me? Did I do 1 kilometer, 4 kilometers? Does not matter. The fact remains is you're doing something. And if you can take the 1 kilometer over 30 days, that's 30 Ks, man.
It's a great message, and you're a great ambassador. Thank you very much for talking to me. Thank you for your time, and ride on.
Thank you, Simon.
Ride on!
And that's it for this episode. A bit of a different style, but some stories really worth telling, I think. We'll be back in the usual format next ep. Thanks for listening.